Hello and welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me for another night of live. I am your host, Anntricia Bray Smith, author, educator, and public speaker. I am the voice for those who suffer in silence. It is indeed a blessing to be here with you tonight, as tonight we're talking about the residue. And I don't want to hold you long tonight, guys, but I do want to speak long enough just to make it known what it means for the residue. When you hear me say that word, the residue, what does that look like? What does it mean? First, guys, let me do a little housekeeping here. I want to first say that I have several products and services that you may have seen me promote through my timelines over the past week. However, guys, tonight I want to promote one thing specifically, and that is a landing page. How to create a landing page, because I know some of you that listen to me, you are a entrepreneur, you are someone in business, and so I do have a video instructional tool that's free right now to help you learn what a landing page is and how to create one. So I take you step by step as I created a simple landing page. So for those of you who are connected or see this video, click the link there in the description box, and you can learn what it is to create a landing page to promote your next event or a product that you have that you want to highlight and maybe get more eyes on. Nonetheless, guys, let's dive in as I'm talking about the residue. I was on duty today because I am a public school teacher, and so I was on duty today, and just so happened there was a group of young ladies that were walking through the hallways, and we had a short, small interaction. Well, as the young ladies proceeded outside, going outside the building, I noticed that I could hear a lot of conversation that was rude and disrespectful, targeted at me. So they were making rude, disrespectful comments targeting at me, being very condescending, and I guess more or less wanted to provoke a reaction to the actions in which they were given. Hey, Keisha, how are you? You know a little bit something about students with behaviors, don't you, Keisha? So I just assumed, it was one of these days. And so I went to the door and I asked one of the young ladies to come and have a talk with me. Come and let's have a one-on-one. Let's try to see what is going on, what's provoking the behaviors, just to kind of share space with them on a more intimate level, more one-on-one. And so as we proceeded to engage one another, one of the things I felt necessary to make aware is that your attitudes, your behaviors that you give off are rude and they're disrespectful. Another thing is that it is no different than either one of us that are in business, us adults, those of us that work for the public, and we have to engage with people. Many of us, like this young lady, on the outside, on the exterior, you see beauty. You see someone that could potentially go places in life, someone with a potentially bright future on the surface when you look. but it's when we open our mouths and when we have actions that don't line up with what you see on the outside that begins to create the disconnect. And so I shared with the young lady, you're a beautiful young lady. What I see is a beautiful young lady. But what I notice, what I hear, and the behaviors that you're giving off does not match up. And isn't that so much just like us in our business? We have a beautiful business. We have the graphics just right. We have the images that match up with the elegance and the theme that we want for our business. We have the colors that match just right. But nevertheless, the residue of our lives tend to outshine it all. It's when we open our mouths, and it's when we're use our media pages, or when we use our voice to provoke or to encourage something that just does not match up. And so it's the residue from our past, the residue from our unresolved issues, the residue from our inability to really work on and develop the inner man that creates the whole disconnect for everything that we work together to build. And guys, I am very aware of what that looks like. Remember, I shared with you before about how when I decided that I wanted to focus more on my public platform, how I realized that the way that I talk, some of the attitudes and behaviors that I had, some of the things that frustrated me so much and how I reacted to that. Remember, I shared with you how that could not go with me. It could not go with me where I was desiring to go. And so I had to go in, not just fix this up, because it's easy to fix this exterior man up. Put the makeup on, put the weave on, put the nails on, jeweled up. It's easy to do all that. It's the inner man. It's that inner frustrations and anger and unresolved that begins to seep the residue into our business, into our conversations, into everything that we set out to do. And so therefore, we're not matching up. And so whereas you would normally have someone who is on your side or on your team, hey, Mr. Smith, how are you? Where you would generally have somebody on your team and supporting you, now you don't have it. And it's not because they wouldn't support you. It's not that they don't want to support you. It's not that they're not attracted to the product or service that you bring, but it's the residue from your behaviors, the residue from what you fail to deal with that seeps into everything you touch. And guys, there's no way around it. If we don't do the work from the inside out, we can do this outside stuff all day long. And whatever is in us is going to precede us in everything that we do. Everything that's in us is going to precede us. That means it's going to beat us. It's going to show up. If our actions doesn't line up with what we say, there's a disconnect. So I encourage you guys to think about your life. Think about your business. Think about your relationships. Think about the things that you are trying to do. And maybe even consider whether or not you have all the support, and whether or not you have the resources that you need to get to your next level. And then think about what kind of residue are you putting out, and does it line up with what you have intended for it to be? So in my business, it is my purpose, my life's purpose. I'm going to educate, I'm going to empower, I'm going to encourage. And if what I do doesn't line up with those three things, then I failed, because there's a disconnect. If what you hear come out of my mouth is a bunch of curse words and a bunch of negativity and a bunch of hate and a bunch of drama and a bunch of whatever hopelessness, if that's what you hear come out of my mouth, it creates a disconnect with the brand that I'm trying to build. So guys, you have to think about that. Do you just look good? Do you just look like you got it all together? Do you just look like your business is booming? Or have you done the work from the inside out so that everything that is resonated from the inside out reflects that you say that you are all about? I never have to go anywhere and explain who I am and what it is I do. I never have to go anywhere to make excuses. I never have to go anywhere to manipulate and con to get a platform and to seem like I'm somebody I'm not. I never have to worry about that, because whatever's in my life, whatever issues that I have, I'm working on that. I'm developing that. I'm learning what it is to deal with the past struggles. I'm learning what it is to learn to forgive people. I'm learning what it is to not always act off of feelings and emotions. And that's a problem with so many of us. We're so emotional. We're emotional creatures. So when you make me mad, everyone's going to know I'm mad. When I'm upset, everybody knows I'm upset. When I'm going through something in my relationship, everybody knows it. And that should not be so, because feelings are so deceiving. Feelings are so can put you in a place to where you will regret everything you said and done later. And guys, I'm not saying that we're not going to make mistakes. We none of us are above making mistakes. But I find it nonetheless a lie, or I find it deceiving to think that you make a mistake when every time I turn around, I see you on social media, or I hear you in the community, or I see you in the store, and you're criticizing somebody. You're putting somebody down. You're cursing somebody out. You're ranting and raving over something. That's a residue problem. That is something on the inside of you that you have not dealt with. If you see me angry today, if you see me acting up and showing out and ready to fight and cursing somebody out, if you see me do that today, and then I come back and I apologize, and I come back and I said I was caught off guard, I had all this brought up on me, and I done that. And guys, please forgive me. And I never go back to the one that I hurt, the one that I cursed, the one that I shown and broadcasted before the world to see, the one I was rude to, the people that I can't forgive, and I don't go back and make that right with them, then I'm no better than the Pharisees or the religious people that were just out trying to make a name for themselves. And the only way we're going to get this residue off, and the only way that I'm going to be able to overcome falling back into that trap again, is if I do the inside work. Me being on this platform doesn't excuse me from mistreating anybody. Me being on this platform doesn't excuse me from thinking I'm better than somebody and cursing somebody out because they get on my nerve. Do you know if you get on my nerve and she gets on my nerve and he gets on my nerve, do you know that I'm the one with the problem? It's the residue from my life that is creating the disconnect that I have in relationships with people. And if you own a business, if you interact with people, if you lead people, if you communicate with people, every unresolved issue within you, it's going to show up. The residue, the imprint, it's going to be there, guys. So let's take the next 24 hours to make sure and to evaluate whether or not what you see on the outside and the behaviors and attitudes and the conversations that I have on the inside or that you have on the inside, let's make sure that they line up. Let's make sure that we haven't left the residue of our lives precede us in so many of the wonderful things, so many of the gifts and talents, so much of the potential that we have. Let's make sure that it doesn't precede us. Let's make sure that we're doing the work, not from the outside in. That's good that it looks good, but how much better would it be if we can do the work from the inside out? I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. I hope that you have been encouraged tonight, and I hope that you take the next 24 hours to evaluate the residues that you're giving off in everything that you do. I am your host, Anntricia Bray Smith, author, educator, and public speaker. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Good night, everybody.